What's up guys, it's Endymion, and today I wanted to dive into the lore concepts behind the insanely rich world of Elden Ring. After spending over 130 hours in the lands between, I have come to some concrete and theoretical conclusions of my own. But there's obviously, understandably, a lot of confusion within the community as to what certain things are exactly and who is who and so on. So I would like to start this potential series of videos explaining and exploring the vast lore of From Software's latest masterpiece, Elden Ring. In this video specifically, I will be focusing solely on what exactly the Elden Ring is, so let's begin and don't worry about spoilers. The Elden Ring is a sacred artifact resembling a triquetra, which is a sacred knot, and a triquetra is usually a depiction in certain religions to mean Trinity, and the overlapping design of fundamental concepts that make up our world. In the Celtic religion, the triquetra's 3 points of Trinity usually depict the lands of earth, sea, and sky, each interlocking to create the world we all know. In terms of Elden Ring's story, this artifact was created by the Greater Will, who is basically an outer god, and the Elden Ring is the source of the Erdtree's power, the giant tree you can see from literally anywhere in the game. The Erdtree is very similar in concept to Yggdrasil in Norse mythology, in which Yggdrasil is described as being the tree of life. All souls, when they die, return to the tree and are then reborn, and the leaves of the Erdtree could be seen in a sense each as someone's soul, falling constantly from the Erdtree's branches to make way for new leaves or souls to grow in its place. So the Elden Ring is the source of not just the natural orders of life and death, but also of concepts like order and chaos. And then there's Queen Marika, who is chosen by the Greater Will to be the leader of the Greater Will's teachings, granting Marika eternal life and immense power. This position would give Marika the ability to use the Elden Ring's power to ensure the lands between would follow the teachings and design of the Greater Will. The Elden Ring's power was pivotal to the natural order of existence and reality as a whole. Everything lived and died by the metaphysical designs and will of the Elden Ring in a sense, and everything was seemingly seen as perfect until one fateful day where Marika's child, Godwyn, was murdered on the Night of the Black Knives. This event led to the death of the first god. Enraged by the death of her child, Marika in her agony would end up shattering the Elden Ring with her hammer, as Marika could not understand why the Greater Will, in all of its godlike power, would allow the death of her beloved child to happen without divine intervention. Did Godwyn die because the Greater Will wanted it to happen, or was the Greater Will at its core flawed, and it wasn't as all-powerful as it was believed to be? And thus, in this single event, known as the Shattering, Queen Marika literally shattered the Elden Ring into hundreds, if not thousands of pieces, and the shattering of the Elden Ring led to a cataclysmic event where suddenly things that made sense in the world, like life, death, order, and so on, were suddenly in freefall. The shattering of the Elden Ring would in turn lead to the various demigods across the lands between all rising up to claim the shards of the Elden Ring through the use of their followers and armies. But this grand war was seen as sacrilegious by the Greater Will, as the shattering of the Elden Ring and the greed of the demigods angered the Greater Will into rejecting Queen Marika and her demigod children for their corruptive lust for power. And due to this, the Greater Will ultimately abandoned the demigods and their people, shutting them all out from its presence. And thus, a world that was once golden and beautiful was suddenly being corrupted and destroyed, not by the god that created it, but by the very life that lived within the lands between. And this is where the events of the game's story takes place, where you, as the Tarnished, who by your name means you are something that was once shimmering brightly but lost its luster, like the Elden Ring no less, are tasked by the Greater Will to collect the pieces of the Elden Ring so that the cycle of existence and the stability of the Elden Ring and all of creation can be fixed. Because without the Elden Ring's protection, various forces have begun to invade and corrupt the very world the game takes place in. I'll definitely get more into these threats in future videos, of course, but since the Elden Ring has been shattered, it leads to all kinds of problems. Those sites of graces you save your game at could be seen in a way as small slivers of the Elden Ring itself, and resting at these graces where you're in the presence of a single minuscule piece of the ring itself leads to you being able to resurrect your life and travel vast distances in an instant, which really puts into perspective how immensely powerful the Elden Ring really is. Every small piece of the Elden Ring you encounter, from the sites of graces to the larger greater runes, each in their own way govern various fundamental laws of creation. For example, in Fia, the Deathbed Companion's quest, you can obtain the Rune of Death, which is a piece of the Elden Ring that quite literally controls how death operates in a creation sense. If someone were to wield the Elden Ring in its complete form, it would be similar in concept to, say, the Infinity Gauntlet in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Except the Elden Ring would allow one to do things even the Infinity Gauntlet couldn't, since the Gauntlet can only will a select few things at a time, whereas the Elden Ring would be like the Infinity Gauntlet, except you could do everything at once. It would allow whoever wielded it the power to create their thoughts or wishes into existence, things like stopping the passage of time, erasing the concepts of life and death, or making someone eternal, like Marika, for example. I do still firmly believe that Elden Ring's story has direct ties to the works of Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and more, and I do plan to do theory videos on those kind of things in the future. But I do believe that the shattering of the Elden Ring was so monumental that it didn't simply affect the world of the lands between, but the universe this game's story takes place in, and the multiverse beyond it. I also don't think the name The Lands Between is a mistake, and it could be referencing that what transpires in Elden Ring directly connects and kicks off the plots and developments of the Dark Souls mythos and beyond. The Erdtree is a direct example of this, since the tree connects all planes of existence, meaning the worlds of Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, and so on could all have their life brought forth, in a way, from the Erdtree, even if each game exists in their own plane of existence. Look at it this way: if each FromSoft game is a branch of the Erdtree spreading in its own unique direction, then the world and story of Elden Ring are the nexus point, the middle ground, the meeting point for all these stories and franchises. A land between, if you will. And that, my friends, is what the Elden Ring is. I hope I cleared that up for you, while also hopefully educating you and making your brain come up with theories of your own that I'd love to hear in the comments below. If you want more Elden Ring content, it's on the channel and more is on its way. Please like, comment, and subscribe to give my life meaning. And thank you to my patrons for their support as always. It's very appreciated. And I'm Endymion. More content is coming. Real life is very busy for me, but I'm doing my best, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.